Isabella was the kind of woman who turned heads when she entered a room, young, elegant, and born into wealth. As the CEO of a powerful multinational company, she had everything people usually chase: success, admiration, and a lifestyle most could only dream of. But beneath the polished image was a woman who had grown tired of empty compliments and superficial attention. Her heart remained untouched, shielded behind sarcasm and wit. One sunny morning, Isabella was sipping coffee in the company's grand lobby with a group of top executives and friends. The atmosphere was light, filled with laughter and casual teasing. The centerpiece of the lobby, a dusty, untouched grand piano, caught her eye. With a mischievous grin, she pointed to it and said, "If any man can play Chopin right here, right now, I'll marry him." Her voice echoed across the marble floor. Everyone burst into laughter. It was clearly a joke, a throwaway line meant to highlight how unlikely it was for someone to impress her on a deeper level. After all, who in a corporate building full of suits and spreadsheets would suddenly walk up and play Chopin? But while the crowd brushed it off, someone was listening. Someone who most people never noticed. The janitor, Luca, quietly polishing the nearby floors, paused for just a moment when he heard her words. He said nothing and went back to work, but a spark had been lit. To Isabella, it was just a passing joke, another moment of amusement in a morning filled with chatter. She had no idea that her challenge had reached the ears of a man with a hidden past and a gift long buried beneath years of silence. A man who saw the piano not as decoration, but as a voice he hadn't used in years. She didn't know it yet, but that one careless sentence would change both of their lives forever. In the stillness of early morning, when the building was nearly empty and the air was cool with silence, Luca moved through the lobby like a shadow. His janitor's uniform was faded, his shoes worn from years of quiet service. Most employees passed him by without a second glance, barely noticing the man who kept the floors spotless and the trash bins empty. But Luca didn't mind. He had grown used to being invisible. What no one knew was that Luca had once lived a very different life. Before he came to this city, before the hard years and silent struggles, he had been something else, someone else. A boy with a piano and a dream. But dreams didn't always survive the storms of reality, and so Luca had put away that part of himself long ago. Until yesterday. He had been cleaning near the elevator when he heard Isabella's voice echo through the marble lobby. Her words, meant as a joke, struck him like a chord. "If any man can play Chopin right here, right now." She laughed, and so did everyone else. But Luca didn't. That night, when the last light had gone out and the building was asleep, he returned. He sat at the grand piano, his rough hands trembling slightly as they hovered over the keys. It had been so long. But as soon as he touched the ivory, something woke up inside him. And then, music. The notes of Chopin flowed from his fingers like water from a forgotten spring, soft, aching, beautiful. The melody wrapped itself around the marble pillars and echoed off the glass walls like a whisper from the past. In that moment, the janitor wasn't a janitor. He was a pianist, a storyteller, a soul reborn. No one was there to hear him. But Luca didn't mind. Because sometimes, the most powerful music is the kind that plays for no audience at all. The next morning, the lobby buzzed with quiet murmurs. Word had spread, someone had played the piano last night, and not just played, performed. A few employees had caught the last haunting notes as they worked late and recorded snippets on their phones. The videos, though grainy, captured something raw and beautiful, music that didn't belong in a corporate lobby, but in a grand concert hall. As Isabella arrived, coffee in hand, she noticed something different. The usual noise and banter had been replaced by a strange stillness. Her eyes followed the silence to the crowd gathered around the piano. And then she saw him. Luca, the janitor, standing calmly in front of the polished instrument. He glanced up, met Isabella's gaze, and gave a simple nod, no fear, no arrogance, just quiet confidence. Then, without a word, he sat. The moment his fingers touched the keys, the air shifted. He played Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major, and the entire lobby seemed to breathe with the melody. It was more than just music, it was emotion made visible. Each note carried something unspoken: sorrow, love, resilience. It was the kind of sound that made you close your eyes and feel. Isabella stood frozen. The man she had walked past 100 times without noticing was now commanding the room with the grace of a master. Her smirk, so often her shield, vanished. In its place, a softness, a question. Who was this man? Not just a janitor. Not just a pair of hands pushing a mop. He was something more. Something unforgettable. The soft clink of teacups echoed in Isabella's private office, far from the eyes and whispers of the lobby. She had asked to speak with him, not as a boss to an employee, but as a woman to a man who had just shaken something inside her she didn't know existed. Luca sat quietly across from her, posture humble but presence unshakable. On the table between them lay a worn black and white photograph. A boy, barely 10, sat proudly beside a grand piano, a small medal pinned to his chest, his eyes bright with dreams. "That's you?" Isabella asked softly. He nodded. "Vienna. I played for ambassadors when I was 9. My mother used to say I had music instead of blood in my veins." She listened, captivated, as he told her his story, not one of fame, but of loss. War had come. His family scattered. The piano he once called his friend was reduced to ash. He fled to a new country with nothing but memories and calloused hands. He found work where he could, cleaning buildings, mopping floors, surviving. The world no longer applauded him, but he never let the music die. "I didn't play for the marriage," he said, his eyes kind but unwavering. "I played because I still believe in beauty, even if the world forgets where to look for it." Isabella felt something stir in her chest, something more powerful than attraction or pity. It was respect. Wonder. A realization that greatness isn't always found in suits or titles, but sometimes in the quiet souls who carry light through the darkest places. In that moment, Luca was no longer invisible. He was unforgettable. 1 month later, the once ordinary lobby had been transformed into a stage of elegance. Soft lights glowed against white drapes, flowers lined the piano, and rows of chairs were filled with guests, artists, philanthropists, and dreamers from all walks of life. A grand banner read, "Voices in Silence, a concert for the unseen." At the center stood Isabella, radiant, not just as a CEO, but as a woman changed. She stepped to the microphone with Luca by her side, no longer in janitor's clothes, but in a simple suit that couldn't hide his humility. "Tonight," she began, her voice steady, "we honor hidden talent, the kind the world forgets to notice. This man reminded me that greatness doesn't always shine in the spotlight, sometimes, it sweeps the floor." The crowd applauded as Luca stepped forward, bowed quietly, and took his seat at the piano. When he began to play, the room fell into a hush. Chopin again, but this time, the music didn't echo in emptiness. It filled hearts. The applause at the end shook the room. As the crowd stood to their feet, Isabella leaned toward him, her voice soft but clear. "This time, if you'd still marry me," she smiled gently, "I wouldn't be joking." Luca turned to her, his eyes reflecting something deeper than surprise. He didn't say yes with words. He didn't need to. He simply smiled. Not because he needed her name or her wealth. But because she had heard him, not just the music, but the heart behind it. Because love, like music, doesn't care where you come from. It only matters that you listen.